Welcome to Archery Talk 101 podcast, your guide to better archery skills. We'll bring you the latest tips, tricks, and expert advice, but that's not all. We'll also have interviews with top archers and industry professionals and reviews of the latest gear and equipment and much more.
Okay.
Hey, we got an exciting podcast tonight where we're talking with Steven about what he's doing in archery. And as you can see, those that are watching, it's kind of night where he's at. It's almost night where I'm at, but we're going to have fun talking. Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm the host for Archery Talk 101, and we're going to get on with a podcast here in 1 second. I just want to let you know where you can watch and listen to the podcast. You can watch the podcast being recorded live in Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. Join that group if you haven't been there. It's a place where we all get together and talk about archery and help each other out. You can also listen on Spotify as well as Audible. And then you can also catch it on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. So let's get on with the show. Welcome to the show, Steven.
How's it going?
Going good. So tell us a little something about yourself so we get to know you.
My name's Steven Coffelt. I'm 41 years old. I live in Madison, Georgia. I'm originally from a small town in Tennessee called Grootley Logger. Nobody's ever heard of it. I've been shooting archery, I guess, about 25 years or so now. And it's one of my favorite things to do, probably if not my favorite things to do. I've got two beautiful kids, a beautiful wife. I live in, like I said, Madison, Georgia now. It's getting cold here. It's perfect time to go hunting. I love to hunt. If I can hunt anything, if I'm going to be in the woods, that's probably my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when it gets cooling off and gets gray. Everybody gets kind of depressed. Like as bow hunters, we get excited. It's like, this means it's bow season. You know, we like those gray overcast days.
Our season's been in since September 9th. So you've got a lot of hot weather out here, and we're in the, I guess, upper 40s right now, and everybody's getting excited. You're a couple of weeks away from, or actually next week, muzzleloader starts, rifle season starts the following week. I'm not a big fan, but it's getting exciting around here.
Yeah, there's all kinds of places you can go hunt, and it's kind of nice that we have archery season, muzzleloader season, rifle seasons are all kind of separated. And I know here in Nebraska, our muzzleloader season's the month of December, so we don't have to contend with the muzzleloaders we're out there. We do during our rifle season. They give it here in Nebraska. They give it the rut to the rifle hunters. Like, oh well, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, most states are a little bit backwards than how we do it here in Georgia. It's a lot of states, you got your archery season, then you might have a week or so of rifle season. Once our rifle season starts in 2 weeks, it runs all the way till mid-January.
Oh, that is completely different. Ours is 10 days in November, another 10 days in January. Other than that, if you want to shoot a firearm, you got to go for muzzleloader, and that's the month of December. So
yeah, it makes it a little difficult for us archery guys to compete.
Yeah. Yeah. When we need to get 20 yards or less, and their 200 yards is just fine.
Oh yeah. It sounds like World War III around here in about 2 weeks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, all those guns going off, it does kind of sound like that when they get a lot of guns going off, and lost your lights. That's the problem being outside when it's dark. You need a little bit of light. So what made you get started in archery?
I really don't remember exactly why I started. I just my dad didn't really do archery. I've got some uncles and stuff. They did a little bit, but I think it's just something that I found a bow. I've actually still got it. It's like an old Hoyt. It's got an apple on it. I don't even think it has a name on it. And I just started tinkering around with it. And first I started shooting squirrels and stuff with it. And then I kind of graduated to a little bit better bow, and then it just kind of stuck. And then it's just something the last 25 years or so, I've just loved it. I mean, I love this season. This is my turkey season. I bow hunt. It's just first thing I do when it's hunting season is just go ahead and get started with my bow. There's no rifles, shotguns, anything like that. I will hunt every now and then with turkeys with a shotgun, but if I can get my bow and I can go hunt them, that's what I'm going to do. So I really don't remember why I started. I loved it from the get go. It was just one of those things.
You just pick it up and win. I know I remember having my first bow. I still actually have it. But why I picked it up, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But that's in the 60s. I was about 10 years old. I just picked up the bow, got a bow. I don't know how I got it. I assume my parents got it for me, but all of a sudden I'm shooting a bow. I put in a cardboard box together and laying up cardboard and shooting into the cardboard boxes. And of course I stood them upright instead of laying them sideways. So they, didn't stick quite as well, but later on now I know I should have laid them sideways, but I didn't care. I was shooting at a box at a target.
Oh yeah. I think my parents got mine at a yard sale. I think they probably got that thing for $10.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, how everybody gets started, and I always like to ask that story because everybody has a kind of a unique story, and from like you and I, it's like I don't remember how I got started or why I got started, but I got started and enjoyed it ever since, and now I got a podcast talking about archery. So
Yeah, it just stuck. I've got some bows now for my kids. I bought my wife one for Christmas. She had no idea, and then she ended up tearing her ACL and MCL, so she didn't really get to use it much, and she didn't really get into it after that. So I'm getting it set up for my little girl, and my son's got one. She's 9, and he's 6. So I'm trying to get them into some tournaments coming up soon.
Yeah, and down there in Georgia and Tennessee, there's some really good archery going on down there.
Oh yeah,
for
nephew,
kids.
My nephew shoots. He does ASA. He ended up second this year in shooter of the year in Georgia in the known 50. So he's been getting pretty good. I taught him everything I knew pretty much. And I just don't have time anymore to help him and train him. I wish I did, but we're so busy, and I wish I could shoot tournaments now. I shot for a long time for Hoyt, and then I just had kids, got married, I ran out of time.
Yeah, you can't do everything. We try. We try to do everything, but yeah, it doesn't work too well sometimes. And some things have to go away, and and then as the kids get older, you'll be able to get back into it.
I wish I could. I love to compete, and I hope they love to compete. My little girl plays travel softball right now, so they do spring and fall, so it's kind of tough to get her into archery also.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping, because she's competitive, so I'm hoping that she loves it, and she's shooting. She's shooting. That's all I can say right now. But we'll get her there.
Yeah, pick it up and go, and introduce to it, and may not do it right now, but made it later on, might come back and just dive in, head first and just go. You never know.
Oh yeah, she's pretty small. I had to get her. We took like parts from B3, different triggers and wristbands, straps, and all this stuff. We finally got her a strap that would fit her wrist and not slide off. So she's got a chance now, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, when they have a real small wrist, it's hard to get a wrist strap to fit on it without sliding onto their hand.
Yeah.
And if it slides onto your hand, then you're not really using it right. And that's always the challenge. And sometimes, I know people, they just make their own wrist strap for it and or modify it so it'll fit, because a lot of them are just, you can't get them any shorter because they're just too fat. So you just gotta find something that works. And like I said, just take one part from one and another part from the other one and make one work.
Yeah, we got lucky. The guy at our bow shop, I've always shot Scots. So we tried all the different ones and tried to find the use. And all that kind of stuff. And we couldn't get anything that just wouldn't slide off. So B3, they make one that's super small. I don't know what they were thinking. I guess they were thinking the same thing I was trying to figure out. And it works.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. And I shoot Scott releases and Carters is what I shoot. And I do have a True Fire is kind of my third backup.
Yeah, I've done, I mean, pretty much all of them, but the only ones I have now I've got a Scott Sigma, I've got a pronghorn, and my favorite of all time is a Shark. I don't even think they make it anymore, but I've probably had that thing 15 years more. I've got two of them actually, and I love the Scott Shark. I still shoot a wrist strap because I love to hunt. So I've left my release, I've dropped my release from the stand, I've done everything. So I keep that Shark on my wrist strap. I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about unless I forget it at home. But other than that, it's with me at all times.
Yeah, in my backpack, I keep my Scott release. It's an old one. I bought it used from a guy, I think, in about 95. And that's the one I use when it gets really cold because I use a handheld and I can't have any cloth in there because I need to be able to feel the release, because I
Yeah.
can't feel anything if I don't. And so when it gets really cold, I go to the wrist wrap and then I keep that in my backpack. And then I also have a handheld from True Fire that is nowhere near the quality of the Carter, but it's less than half the price. When I was had my store, they sent it to me to try out to see, and for the price, it was not too bad. But and then so I got to keep those in my backpack because I've dropped my release from the tree stand, and it's like, well, I ain't getting down to get it. I'll just put the other one on and go, because you can shoot them. It doesn't matter which one I have on because where my hand fits my face changes, but nothing else changes. So I can shoot one, grab the next one, and I can interchange them, and nothing. I don't have to worry about it because the bow fits me the same way no matter which release I have. So
yep,
that's kind of nice when you can do that, and that's why you really should set them up so that no matter which release you're using, you can, use whichever release. If you lose yours, grab it, borrow one or something. You just go with it.
yeah. If I can tell anybody anything, it's always have a backup. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but you need to practice with both. If you're going to have a backup, at least, pull it out every now and then and at least sling 10 to 15 arrows with it, see what it looks like, what it feels like.
Make sure it's still working smooth. And I know my Scott, it has a little pin on a little hook on it, and when it releases, it just opens up. And the thing about that is that the jaws is I can, with the release in my hand, I can find the string, go down and find my loop and hook it up without looking at it. With the jaws, you got to look down at it, open the jaws and hook them up. And, it's a bit more of a pain and more movement because every time I've looked away from the deer, when there's one coming, I look up and they're looking at me, so I like to be able to go without looking at my equipment. Same thing with my Carter. It actually locks onto the loop. So I just find the string, put in between my ring finger and middle finger and slide it down. I come to the release and I'm there, and then just make sure my thumb is off of it and draw back and shoot. So it's kind of nice to have something that's easy to hook up. We don't have to look at.
Oh yeah, I love it. That's my Shark is a dual caliper, which I've always shot that. So I guess I'm so used to it. It doesn't really, I always just kind of go in from one side, kind of like you're doing with the single caliper. And so I don't really, I guess I've used it for so long. It's just something, it's natural. That's what I like. I don't usually swap things up and get something new just unless I use it a lot. If I can get out there and sling a couple hundred arrows with it and that kind of thing, if I can get used to it, then I'm good with it. But if not, like I've got a few that I bought that I'm just not comfortable with, so they just sit on the shelf. Maybe my kids will like them or something.
Yeah. Well, my newest release is over 20 years old, so
yeah.
I'm just not one to, get the newest, fanciest release. And, it's like, oh, this side, I got to have that. I got to have that. It's like, it ain't broke. Don't change it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with using old equipment. unless it's a tree stand. I mean, I will change my tree stands out just because of I'm down here in Georgia. I don't know if it's everywhere or not, but recently we've had a lot of injuries where people are either the cables are breaking on their stands or the straps are breaking, that kind of thing. I guess people just aren't checking their stuff, or they just don't make them like they used to, or people are buying cheap stuff. So I will swap my tree stands and stuff and pull them down. I don't ever leave anything up. Make sure everything's good.
Well,
But my
I
release,
know,
I'm keeping my release for a long time.
yeah, I know on the tree stand, some of those have that strap that you just kind of pull and locks in, and yeah, okay, that holds it in place. So I can get two more ratchet straps on it. I'll put two ratchet straps on, one around the top and one around the bottom. So I've always got at least three connections. I got one tree stand that uses a chain, and I'll still put on a ratchet strap on the bottom because I don't want it moving. And
Oh yeah,
the chain's not likely going to fail like a strap, but the ones that do have straps, I always put a ratchet strap on them. I don't depend on them because they just seem to always want to move too much, and I don't want my tree stand moving unless the whole tree's moving.
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
in one of those before.
Oh yeah, plenty of times. Well, because we hunt pines and stuff down here, and I mean, you'll sway 5 or 6 feet back and forth.
Yeah, I was in one that wasn't very big, and man, the wind was just blowing like crazy, and even if a deer come by, there's no way I could have shot it because I was hanging onto the tree stand, waiting for it to die down enough I could get down out of the tree stand. And when it's blowing that much, the deer don't walk around anyway; they run. If they're
Yeah,
moving, they're running, and you're not hitting them anyway. So if it's that windy, anymore, it's like the you're not going to get a shot until the wind dies down. Now, if it dies down in the evening, now, which it does lots of times, but then you can get some. But it always seems like it's dark by the time the wind dies down.
it's right at dark.
So, what's been your most challenging hunt that you've been on?
Uh, Challenging. Yeah, I would probably say. I mean, I guess Kansas. The first time going to Kansas, it was like 5 to 8 degrees the whole time. I'm from Georgia, so we're not used to that.
Yeah,
At 25, 30 mile an hour winds pretty much the whole time we're there. And the first few days I was there, like November 1st till November 5th or 6th. And just getting used to the terrain, walking over the corn stalks, of course, because, they cut them and they're still like 3 feet tall. So
yeah,
you got to walk. Trying to get to the stand it's a march. But I guess that was a pretty challenging hunt. We didn't see anything first couple of days. It was dead. Like we would see some does, that kind of thing. And I think day 3, it's like somebody turned the light switch on and there was deer everywhere. But getting a shot on them because they were fighting, there was only a few does, but they're chasing does everywhere. They're fighting everywhere. Just trying to get a shot on one it was tough, especially being that cold and you're wearing thick gear. I kind of overdid it because I mean I didn't know what I was getting into,
yeah,
but that was pretty challenging. I would say a turkey hunt in New Mexico, we had the same thing, like 30 mile an hour winds. It was snowing. That was a really tough hunt. 7,000 feet. I mean I hadn't really hunted out there, so 7,000 feet. And, I'm gasping for air. I've got young guys with me bouncing around all over the place. It was fun, but it was tough.
yeah. Getting that when you're used to being, in the lower altitudes, and you get up in the 7,000 feet, that's a big change.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had some tough hunts out here. Georgia's tough. I don't know if you've ever hunted here, but
No, I haven't.
it's super thick. I mean, trees everywhere, people everywhere. I feel like there's a hunter every 3,000 yards or 300 yards. So we got tons of public land. We've got some pretty good private land, but I mean, there's so many people out here that hunt, and there's so many deer, so the rut's not really spectacular. So if you really want to get one, you gotta work for it.
Not like going to the grocery store and just picking out which one you want and shooting it.
Oh yeah, nothing like that at all. Even out west, I mean, I think the morning I killed one, I shot a good buck. He was actually 9 years old. It was an older deer, but I saw 9 shooters that morning. That's that's like a dream you would never see. You would never see that here in Georgia.
That's quite a few to see. I around here, I got a couple of private property lands, and there's not a lot of deer on them, and when they do come through, mostly at night. So you kind of pretty much, if they come through during the day, you got to take whatever comes through because they may not be back for another month during the day.
Yeah, I would love to. I definitely want to deer hunt out there in Nebraska and stuff like that. I was in I hunt in Haddam, Kansas, which is right on the Nebraska line. And I was watching deer jump from Nebraska to Kansas.
Yeah, they don't care about state lines. They can't read a map.
But I definitely want to get out there and try it and at least like do maybe like a spot and stalk or something like that. Mule deer hunt, that kind of thing.
Yeah, with the mule deer, you're going to be spotting and stalking because you can't sit for them because they just roam around all over, and you're out in the sand hills mostly, and out in the western part of Nebraska, and not a lot of treat areas, so you have to kind of pretty much spot them and stalk them.
The crazy part is when I was in New Mexico turkey hunting, I could have shot 20 mule deer. I mean, coming 15, 20 yards from me.
But it wasn't deer season.
Yeah, of course.
Isn't that the way it goes? If you're hunting turkeys, you don't see all kinds of deer. You're hunting deer, you also see all kinds of turkeys.
Oh yeah. I was walking a plateau headed to a turkey blind that they had set up. We hunted Folsom, New Mexico, and Trinidad, Colorado. And I was walking to a plateau and I literally ran into an elk. He came down the hill. He didn't see me. I didn't see him. And we literally, ran straight into each other.
Scared the both of you, I bet, didn't it?
I've never seen an animal that big run down the side of a mountain like that. It was nuts.
Yeah, I imagine you did take off, all of a sudden bumps into you, and there you are. And that sounds kind of exciting to all of a sudden just have one that close to you, and you didn't know it was there, and he didn't know you was there. And
oh yeah, it was. I mean, I was scared to death. I don't really get scared of anything, but that was. I mean, all I could see was, I couldn't see over his back. He was big.
And with all them antlers in there, you could very easily have just turned them and smacked you with it. And
I thought about hitting him with my bow.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of some guys that the elk or the moose come walking by, and they're 10 feet from them at most, and it's like, what do you do then? You just kind of wait and wait and wait, and hopefully it turns, and it doesn't matter where your pins are at.
Oh yeah.
Being so close. I suppose you got a moose, you got a huge kill zone. You're about the size of a trash can lid. So, anywhere in that area be just fine.
Yeah, that's my dream hunt. I want to hunt elk and stuff like that, but a moose would probably be. I mean, that's top of the list for me for sure. That's a gigantic animal. I've seen them. I've been up in Maine and stuff like that, and I've seen them, but I've never had a chance to hunt them.
I went in, I think 95 or somewhere around there. I forget now, but I went up moose hunting in Canada, and I had a cow tag, and I managed to get one, and yeah, they are huge. Their ears the size of your foot.
Yeah,
not just their ears. And the liver, a couple inches thick and wide, it drapes over your arm, and yeah, they're they're a big animal. You know, one of those animals they easily get, you know, close to 500 pounds of meat out of them.
I've had it. It's great, and
Oh, it is.
I'll eventually get to do it. I just don't know when.
Yeah, it's I think it's the best meat I've had is that moose. Of course, I haven't had a lot of elk or caribou, but um, you know, I don't see it being any better than moose.
Yeah, I like moose is great. Elk's good, but like antelope or axis deer, I don't know if you ever had those, but that's really good stuff.
Not it well, it's all good. It's better than beef because you don't have all that chemicals to put in beef. And you know, there for a while I'd have beef and it's like, ooh, this tastes funny. Oh, it's beef. Okay, never mind.
We just about eat pretty much deer meat year round, and my kids will go out to a Mexican restaurant or something like that, and they'll get tacos, and they're like, "This tastes funny," and they half the time they don't even end up eating it because they're so used to deer tacos or something like that.
Yeah. Like I had a Mexican restaurant that's not too far from here, and I went in and you know they had what they call the super burrito, and you say what kind of meat you want, and you're saying hamburgers, and then they say tongue. It's like, oh, I want tongue in my burrito. I hadn't had that since I was a kid. You know, we used to eat it
It's
quite a
good.
bit, and
Yeah, it's
it was
actually
good.
really good.
I actually got my wife to try one bite.
I'm not sure. I don't think my wife would try it.
It's like you do one bite. If you don't like it, spit it out. You know, just try one bite, and she ate it. And of course, she didn't have any more. But so went back a second time. Ordered. I didn't wait for me. I was like, I'm a super burrito with tongue.
Like we'll do cookouts around here, and we'll get some beef and stuff like that for people that don't care for deer meat, and I'll do deer meat burgers, and then I'll do beef burgers, and the deer meat burgers are always the first ones that are gone. But they don't ask; they just eat it.
Don't ask, don't tell them, right? Yeah, um, it's amazing sometimes when you fix something, somebody eats it and says, "Oh man, this is good. What is it, dear? Oh yeah, that's terrible." Like you just said it was good.
My sister's like that, and we grew up on it. That's my dad was always a big hunter. We grew up eating deer meat, and she still to this day, if you tell her what it is, she won't eat it.
But if you don't tell her, she'll eat it.
Oh yeah, and she don't
It's
ask. She just eats it.
it's just one of those things that if you don't know, you eat it and it's good.
And you can kill so many deer here that I mean, we literally, I'll kill. I mean, I usually 8 or 9 deer, and then I mean, we'll have it all year long. That's we don't have to buy meat. We buy chicken, of course, sometimes, but typically
Yeah,
most of the time it's deer meat pretty much every day.
and that's it's good for you. I I remember one guy when I was in an archery club. He joined the archery club, kind of he found out his kid was allergic to all the hormones and all the junk they stick in the beef. And once they found out, so he started picking up archery to get meat, so his kid can have meat because he could eat the deer, but the regular beef, yeah, just something in all the processing that they do, you know, something he couldn't tolerate.
Camera's going off like crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's full on deer season here, so I mean my cameras are going nuts.
Oh, you got a bunch of trail cameras out then?
Oh yeah, cell cameras everywhere. I've got two pretty good ones that I've been watching, waiting on them to get closer to daylight. I've got one more buck tag. We get 2 buck tags and 10 doe tags. So I killed a buck opening day, and then I'm waiting on one more. We've got 7 or 8 good ones out there, but there's 2 of them that I'm really waiting on to show their face.
Yeah, when you only have a couple of tags, then you can just get one and then wait on the other one. I know Nebraska, that when I first started bow hunting, you only got 2 tags. That was it. There was no more.
Yeah,
Um,
that's crazy to me. Like I've got a bunch of buddies that live in Iowa and Missouri and stuff like that, and they've got so many deer, and you can't kill them. You can't hunt them. You only get 1 or 2 tags. It's nuts.
yeah. Now in Nebraska, they got what they call a season choice now, and there's a lot of those. When those first come out, they were unlimited, and now there is a limit on them. But those allowed you to take 2 antlerless deer on a tag. Um, so that was kind of nice. And so, when I first started out, the first deer come by, I'd fill 1 tag. And then I had my second tag, and then I'd only hunt bucks until December timeframe, and then I'd go ahead and fill it, because ours started in middle of September. And now then with the season choice, I get my archer tag and a season choice. And, if a buck comes by, I can shoot it. If a doe comes by, I use the season choice, so there's kind of gives you options. And that's what I always used to do is, I get an archery and a season choice. So, if a doe come by, I didn't use my tag, I could shoot a buck on, and then then I can get more deer. Back when I was a deer check station, when I had my store, there's guys would shoot 20 plus deer, legally shoot them on the tags that they had, because there's unlimited tags. They'd
Yeah,
fill the 2 tags, and you fill the 2 deer on a tag and go get another tag and shoot 2 more deer. And then, because there are just so many, where there was hunting, there's just so many of them, they could just keep filling them. And after a while, it's like, what do you do with that much meat? Because they're pretty good sized deer up here. They're
oh yeah,
easily,
way bigger than ours.
120 to 120 to 150 is not unusual for for a doe around here. And yours are a little bit smaller.
That's typically what I wait for. I've killed. Typically, I won't shoot it a doe unless it's got to be over 100 pounds. I won't. I won't even pull back on something smaller than that.
Yeah, that's about our fawn size. I know some of them, it's like we have fawns that are about as big as some places have deer. It's like, it's full grown deer, and they just grab it and throw it over their shoulder. You're not doing that with an adult deer up here. You're not throwing it over your shoulder. I don't know if even like Arnold Schwarzenegger could pick it up and throw it over his shoulder. I've seen some that the shot that pushing 200 pounds. For
Oh
some of
yeah,
the deer.
I've seen them out west and stuff like that. I've seen some big does, and the buck I killed this year was 260 pounds, and that's about unheard of for where I live.
Oh yeah, that's huge even for up here.
Because typically around here, you're looking from 170 to 200 for a good buck.
Yeah, I I was talking to one guy on the podcast, and then they didn't really have much deer, so they imported some in from up north with the bigger deer, and they're small down there. You take the deer that are big, and then after a few years, they're just small like they was before. And we just kind of wonder, it's like, why would that be? It could be the nutritional value, the nutrition that they're eating, because up here, corn and soybeans, in the
Yeah,
summertime and late fall, it's corn and soybeans. That's what they're eating
yeah,
on. And
yeah. Here they're eating privet hedges, and we got some places with corn and stuff like that, but a lot of cotton. They don't really mess with that. And yeah, privet hedges and acorns and stuff like that. But the acorns don't drop until now.
yeah,
There's not a
yes.
lot of nutritional food. That's why we've got our uh, sorry, I've got my company. Me and a buddy of mine started a company called Rapid Raxx, and we do supplemental feeding and stuff like that. We're coming out with food plot mixes, and we've got our deer attractants and stuff like that. We're we're growing the deer. We've been feeding them for a while. That's why I think I've got the one that I shot was 260. I've got another one that's probably around 245. A couple over like 220 ish. So they're eating well. We're trying to help them out with the nutrition value and stuff like that around here.
Yeah, that's always good to be able to have an area where you can do that in. And
Yeah, the baiting game and the feeding game and stuff like that's huge in the South because I mean it's super thick. You're trying to hunt, planted pines and stuff like that. So it's briars, but you got to get the deer in certain areas before you can actually have a good shot on them. If it was up to, I mean, we hunted and killed some really good deer, but I mean, there's a ton of effort in it. If we couldn't bait here, there half the guys that go in the woods would never kill anything.
Yeah, that's a little different up here. You can't bait them. You got to have the anything like you put down gone, before hunting season. But
Yeah, see here you can. I think I live in the northern zone of Georgia, and it's only been legal here for the last 3 years. And the amount of deer, good bucks that have been killed in the last 3 years is nuts compared to years before that.
well, if you can get them in your area, then you can kill them, and if you have too many deer, they're going to die off one way or another.
Oh yeah,
Whether they're going to die whether we shoot them and get the chance to eat them, or they're going to die from diseases or starvation because there's not enough food.
yeah. I was kind of worried about. It hasn't rained here in, I couldn't even a month and a half or so, and we've had a few deer that we've seen people post. They're starting to get like blue tongue and that kind of thing. We don't get that real bad here because we usually have wet weather, but
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't rained in a while, and I'm getting kind of concerned about when it's actually going to rain. We've got a small chance for the end of this week, I think, actually. But I mean, if it doesn't rain soon, I'm because we've got tons of no-see-ums and stuff like that. We're eat up with them.
Yeah, you got to have some rain. Fortunately, we got some rain, a few days ago. Wasn't a lot of rain, but it was rain. It, helps out the gardens and everything else. But um, yes. So what all does your company do?
Right now we're just we have our attractants and stuff like it's called that rutting stuff. Super. I mean, it's a great attractant. We think it's it's a game changer for down here. Of course, if y'all could use it up there, I mean, it would you would be shocked at the amount of deer that come to it. We developed it. I developed the formulas and stuff. I guess almost 2 years ago, and it's got some special stuff in it that nobody knows. It's special oils and stuff like that they get the deer. Once the deer eat it, it's almost like a drug to them. They have to have it for nutritional. They don't really have to have it, but they want it because there's such good nutritional value in it. And then we have our 365 blend, which is a year-round blend. It's more like we have a lot of plantations around here, guys that feed year-round trying to grow the deer. And it's 18% protein pellet, plus we've got roasted corn, soybeans, peanuts in it. So the deer actually, I mean, they love it. And we've got blocks and stuff like that. And like I said, we're coming out with some food plot mixes and stuff like that for the South. I don't know. Well, we're going to cover the entire southeastern area, but I don't know food plots and stuff out there for y'all. It's a different game. Y'all plant. Well, I mean, y'all plant soybeans and stuff like that, but y'all have a lot more area. If we plant soybeans here, I mean, they're gone before bow season even starts. You got to have an electric fence or something like that. They can't even get a foot off the ground and they're just gone.
Hmm. What do you have a
But
website?
Yeah, rapidraxx.com. And then I have my turkey call company. I I've been making turkey calls for years. That's I love turkey hunting. Turkey hunting's my thing. If I could turkey hunt in the fall here, I might not deer hunt near as much.
Okay, I must have typed it in wrong.
Yeah, it's RapidRaxx.com.
Oh, RAX. Okay, I just typed it. Type. Just RAXX.com.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. A little picture of a deer on front.
Yeah, we're still working on the website and stuff like that. We haven't. It's good, but it's not a great website right now. We've got to add some e-commerce and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show your screen, share the screen, and see what we have here. I got to move a little bar out of my way. But that's your website. So if they wanted to get a hold of you, they can probably get a hold of you right here on the website. You know,
Yep,
for those that are listening, you can't see the website, but for those that get a chance to watch it, you know, whether you're on my YouTube channel or in the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group, you can actually be able to see it. And I'll leave a link in the description for it because this looks like some pretty good stuff. It's like you're pouring in what looks like maybe corn or something, or is that the feed that you developed?
that's that's one of our feeds.
Oh, it looks like it has more stuff in it than just corn. So,
Oh yeah, our the Ruttin stuff is roasted corn, soybeans, peanuts, sunflower seeds, and we've got our proprietary blend of attractant that's built into it. Smells amazing. The deer are drawn to it super quick, and that's a buck that I killed in a suburban area over here. He was 8.5 years old. I'd seen him a couple years in a row, and I thought he was around that 5.5, 6 year old range, and then he lost a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead because he was still a good deer. So he was 245 pounds.
oh, you're growing some big deer with that stuff because normally, like I said, you know, Georgia and Tennessee don't have very big deer, and you're getting these huge ones coming out of your area because you're feeding them.
Oh yeah,
So that's kind of testament to what that feed can do.
and that's our map of the stores that we have right now. We've got a few more we got to add to it, but we're slowly spreading further and further out. And like I said, we
Yeah,
want to cover the southeast at least.
next you're right around that Georgia, mostly Georgia, and um, not quite in Tennessee yet, but over in Alabama. So
Yeah,
yeah, that
we got a
just
store in Missouri. We just got a store in Missouri, so we're thinking about Missouri's going to be probably going to end up being a hub for us, so we can ship it out there and they can distribute it all over the
right.
place.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit more central. If you're going to focus on the southeast, that would be a good place, you know, to have a you know a good sized hub. So can off your website, can you order it off your website here?
We don't do it on a just because I mean it's a 40-pound bag. The shipping would be
Oh,
ridiculous.
oh
So,
yeah. find
but like I
find a
said, we're gonna
dealer.
get yeah, we're gonna do some smaller stuff coming up soon, so we can put it on the website so people can try it. Maybe mix it with corn, do whatever with it. And it's a new company. We started it. We actually launched it this year in February, February, March. We've been testing it for a while, and we finally decided to launch it. And I mean, it's taken off very well.
That's that looks like some good stuff because um, you know there's always need to get them into the area, feed them. You know, in the wintertime, everybody don't think about the wintertime. You know, up here in Nebraska, you know, come wintertime, there's basically no food.
Oh yeah, we don't have
You know,
much. I mean,
you
once
know
the
what?
acorns are gone, they're eating sticks.
Yeah, and a lot of times though, you know, if there's a lot of heavy snow, they don't even get up and move. They just sit there and don't eat because the energy they expend to go find food is more than what they're going to get by the food. So they're better off to just lay there. And, you know, if you can have some kind of a supplement for them, that would
Yeah,
definitely help.
the mortality rate for y'all and anywhere in northern is it's much worse than it is here as far
Yeah.
as going hungry and that kind of thing, freezing to death or whatever it may be.
So you said you also do turkey calls?
Yes, I own a company called Keep Struttin. It's pretty well known, I would say now. I do Nashville every year. I do some shows. I do the NWTF show every year. I sell, a couple thousand pot calls a year and a lot of mouth calls and stuff like that, box calls.
You have a website for that one too?
Yeah, that's keepstruttin.com.
Boy, might as well show them to get them out here. Keep strutting. The big old turkey on the front of it.
Yeah, that's my passion. I love turkey hunting. I love it.
Well, there we go. There's your website. Free shipping on orders are $75. That's kind of nice. You've got shop, you got mouth calls. Yeah, if I go turkey again, I'm gonna get new mouth calls because mine are too old. They're too old and probably too nasty. I don't think I'd want to put them in my mouth. I think I need to get new ones.
I know I'm starting now. Like I'm getting ready to start building my calls and stuff like that, getting ready for turkey season because it takes that long to get everything ready.
Yeah. Now you've got what, 4 different calls here. What's the difference between them?
I've got more. I'm not sure why it's not pulling up the other ones, but um, so on the left side top, that would be that's a 3 reed V cut, super easy to use for beginners, stuff like that. And I guess if
The,
you go a little, the one in the middle right there is going to be a little bit tougher for most.
the ghost.
It's Yeah, the ghost cut's a little bit tough. It's really good for kikis and stuff like that. So for y'all, it would be a really good call because I mean, like we don't kiki and stuff in the spring because it's more of a fall wintertime call.
Yeah.
And
Then you,
the one on the
the,
right's a pretty
the
raspy call.
the cutter.
Yeah, that's definitely a raspy call. I've got several more. I'm not Like I said, I'm not sure why it's not pulling up right there. Maybe I need to look at my website and see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, then you got the bat wing.
Yeah, if you go back one page and scroll down, it should show you a lot more stuff.
Let me go back, check shot. Maybe it just hit those. My internet's not always the fastest.
Yeah, there's a
Okay, there's the turkey, which we talked about earlier, pinned up. The grizzly, which looks like a slate call.
Yeah, that's a very popular call. I've sold tons and tons of. It's actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of Grizzhawk. He's a photographer out of Iowa. He did
Yeah,
all the stuff for Dustin Datillo, or I think it's Attillo.
yeah,
All the paintings and stuff that he does, those are Grizz's. His name's Clayton. Those are all his pictures. That's a legit picture that he took of a turkey that he didn't even end up shooting the turkey. He watched it for over 2 hours and let the hooks on that thing are ridiculous. And so we started talking and that kind of thing. And I asked him if I could use that picture and I told him I'd buy it from him. And it went from there. And I've sold, I couldn't tell you how many of those. It sounds amazing. It's a glass over aluminum in a zebra wood pot.
that zebra wood is just a cool wood. I've made some calls and stuff out of those.
And I do a lot of grunt calls and stuff like that this time of year.
Got your hats, aluminum turkey pot. Of course, you gotta have cups. The carbon hintress.
Yeah, that one right there is a very popular one too. That's probably, I would say, the best sounding call I've ever made. It's carbon fiber.
But that does give it a little bit different, unique sound, doesn't it?
It does. And I do a lot of stuff with the military and all the military calls and stuff like that. I'll do, like a percentage goes to wounded warriors and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's always nice when when you have stuff and you do something special for the military. A lot of people will buy it just for that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of like I've got military buddies and stuff like that, and then I started doing that, and I've had tons of I didn't realize there was so many different. There's only the Army, Navy, Marines, all the different branches of the military, but there's so many different units and stuff like that
Oh yeah.
that people. I did a lot of custom calls and stuff for different units. I didn't realize there was so many different units within the military that people could get different logos for.
So just kind of, for those listening, you can't really see what I'm doing. I just kind of scroll through, see all the calls and the hats and the shirts and pretty cool. And even some earrings made out of turkey feathers.
My wife
Those are
makes all
kind of,
those.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I shoot the turkeys and she makes earrings with them.
I know I made a set of earrings for my daughter out of the tips of antlers, and I kind of got the fixing for it, and then I took the tip of it, and then I kind of faceted the one end and drilled a hole in it and put it on, made her earrings for it, and that kind of stuff's kind of fun to do. I haven't made any calls recently, but I make duck calls and deer calls, and I haven't done that in quite a while. I've been just so busy doing other things.
Okay. Yeah, I've had so many people ask me to make them duck calls and stuff like that. I don't really have time to duck hunt. I'm I've hunted, I've duck hunted in the past when I was growing up, but it's just not something that I've been able to continue.
Yeah, it's kind of weird on your duck call. I have the same reed in every one of my calls. They're best to set up the same because I buy the kit with the reed. I just have to plug it in and drill the holes and whatnot. And it's amazing the different sounds you get out of the same call just based on how the wood is shaped and the type of wood it is.
Oh yeah.
I've had some calls that are great for little feeder calls. You can make just nice little quiet, feeder call, but don't try and do a hail call on it because it does not work. Then I have others that you cannot do a feeder call, but you can do a great hail call. You can just blow as much air into it as you want. And it's the same reed. It's kind of weird how the difference in the wood, between density between, like a laminated wood as opposed to, walnut or Osage orange or, whatever the different types of woods are, the African blackwood. And, they all sound different because the wood density is different. And then when I get ready to make them, it's like I turn them around and I look at it, and the wood tells me what shape to make. There's times like I wanted to do a shape, but like it just didn't look right on the wood. So each one is shaped differently because they're not done on a duplicator. Each one's all hand turned, and I'll do them a little differently. Like the end of it, sometimes I'll cone it out, and I just make them all different. Like you try them, and it's like, oh, that sounds okay, and and that way you have multiple ones, and you just open up your case, and it's like, here, okay, try all these different ones, and okay, I like this one, so that's when you get.
Yep. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff with grunt calls as far as different woods and stuff like that. People, you get like say a cedar, which is a super light wood, versus Coca-Cola or something like that. You're going to get a completely different sound out of it.
Oh
And people
yeah.
don't really understand it. People ask, and like turkey calls, I don't do a lot of stuff out of super light woods. Maple might be the lightest wood, or black walnut, but you just don't get the same sound. Slate you can get great sounds out of, but like a glass call or aluminum or something like that, you just don't get the same tones that you need to, I guess, to be successful in the woods.
Yeah, it's got to sound like a turkey.
It's totally different out there too. Y'all are Merriams and stuff like that. I don't know, they just respond to different things versus the stuff we do here. It's
Yeah, I know.
probably the only one. Rios, Easterns, Osceolas, it doesn't matter. I can use the same call for all three, but a Merriam, it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it would be, but hey, different area, different bird.
And their gobble is something. It's one of the funniest things. I thought first time I ever went out there and I heard a Merriam gobble, I thought it was a Jake. I was like, what in the world was that? It just sounded weird. And then I had a couple of birds come in, they had like 5-inch beards. I had no idea, but one of the guides that was out there with me, he's like, their beards break off in the snow, or they step on them and break them off. So I didn't. I mean, I'm thinking I'm sitting there staring at a bunch of jakes, but it's a bunch of gobblers, just full grown toms standing in front of me, and I didn't do nothing about it.
Yeah, I've heard them gobble it. When you get out of your car, close your door. Next thing, the turkey gobbles. Trains go by, turkey gobbles. You make any kind of noise, in the spring, they're gobbling.
Yeah, hunting them here is a different animal. It's almost like deer hunting, but there's, like I said, it's so thick. There's a lot of creek bottoms and stuff like that. They're just hard to hunt. Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi are probably, I think, the three hardest states to kill a turkey in.
Yeah, that could be. I've got some I need to track down where they're going. I got about 3 dozen of them that hang around about a mile from my house.
I wish.
Yeah, and I have permission to hunt across the highway from where they hang out, and they hang out down there sometimes too. And I just gotta get out there during turkey season and try and get one. And
I've got some buddies in Iowa. I mean, they open fields and stuff like that in Iowa, and I tell them all the time. I was like, just come down here, just come try it. It's a totally different world.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, each area, when you get all those trees, you don't really have the long shots like you do up here. You can, easily have, 40-yard shots up here. Down in all the forest areas, it's tough sometimes to even get a 20-yard shot.
Oh, you can't even see them coming. If they shut up and they're still coming, I mean, they're going to be on you before you know it.
Yeah, be ready all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's tough bow hunting them, especially if you're not sitting in a blind. If you're just trying to run and gun a turkey with a bow, I would probably say that's the most challenging of any hunting that I do.
That would be challenging when you can't see them coming. All of a sudden they're just there.
And getting to draw back, just being able to move a little bit.
Yeah, that's where I almost need a crossbow for that, so you can have it all ready to go. Just kind of point it and shoot.
I've got a buddy of mine in Mississippi. It's a Ridge Rock Hunting Company. His name's Derek Eves, and that's all he does is bow hunt turkeys. Like I said, I'll use a shotgun, but he doesn't do anything but bow hunt them. He'll text me or call me or something. He's like, he'll be heartbroken, and the next thing he's super excited. There's a lot of heartbreak when it comes to trying to run and gun a turkey with a bow.
Oh yeah. just shooting one with a bow, even out of a blind, is a challenge in itself.
Oh yeah.
But that's why we like archery, right?
That's why I love
it. It's the challenge.
Yep. I know I need to get into some traditional and stuff like that. I've got a couple of bows. I don't know. I shoot for elite. I'm an elite archery guy. I love their bows. I'm shooting the new era right now. And I mean, they're releasing a new bow. What's today, the 9th? Yeah, tomorrow. But I love compound bows. It's not really anything like you get a lot of the traditional guys versus the compound guys saying that you're still cheating in a sense. But I mean, if you shoot that traditional bow as much as I shoot my compound, I mean you're just as good with that as I am with the compound bow.
Oh yeah. But when you look at, it's like, what do you want to do? A traditional bow is generally going to take more practice to get good at it. Compound takes a little bit less. A crossbow takes even less. And then, of course, a rifle or shotgun takes even less than that. But, it all depends. If you've got a young kid, that wants to go out during archery season and, put them in a crossbow. They can get out there in archery season because shooting a deer with a 20-pound bow just isn't going to cut it. Most
Yeah, it's not
places it's
ethical.
illegal. Yeah. Not ethical and not legal in most places to shoot them with that light of a poundage bow. Or if you get them in a crossbow, then now they can get out there, they can get the hunting experience, they can be out there with you, and they could have the crossbow and you can have your compound, or
Yep.
whatever, and get them out there. And as they get older, then they can switch to compounds, if they want. And I consider archery a stick with a string flinging another stick. So it
I
could
mean,
be
that's
just
true.
a stick, you put got a vine on it, and you grab the straightest stick you could find, and you put a little knock in it and shot it, to your high-end $2,000 compound bows, or crossbows, and anything in between there is fine. I've seen people make bows out of PVC. Not my idea of making a bow, but hey, if it works, why not, right?
Oh yeah, and I'm big on ethical shots. I don't want the animal to suffer. Of course, nobody does. I mean, a lot of people. That's my one of my main goals is to make sure that I'm doing my part good enough with the bow that I shoot to where the animal that I'm harvesting doesn't have to suffer. And there's
Right.
a lot of guys, like the guys you're talking about that'll make one out of PVC or something like that. They'll go shoot a. We have a lot of tracking dogs around here because people don't take ethical shots,
Right.
and it's it bothers me a little bit. I've seen a lot of videos of guys that they'll shoot the deer and then they wait till the next day to go retrieve it. I mean, I hunt for the meat. I like to harvest good bucks and stuff like that, but I'm going to eat that buck. I don't want to.
Right.
If I shoot him, I'm going to make sure it's a good shot, so I don't have to wait or waste the meat. I don't agree with that part of it.
Yeah. And that's why, I haven't really pushed too much to go out this year because it's just been so hot. I'm not going out when it's in the 80s and 90s, because if you go out in the morning where it's a little bit cooler and you shoot the deer and you have to track it for a while, you don't have much time. And if you do it at night and you can't find it because it's so dark, it's not going to be good the next morning.
Yep.
So I'm not going to bother trying to go out until it cools off. Well, now it's starting to get a little bit cooler, and so now's the time to think about getting things set up and get out there and get in the tree stand. And
Like I've got some buddies that are trackers that have great tracking dogs. I have a blue tick. She's a good tracking dog, but I would much rather nobody call me than 50 people call me saying they took a bad shot.
we've all made bad shots.
Oh yeah.
It happens, but it's not because we're not a good shot. It's because we just mess something up.
Oh yeah. In the moment, I mean, it's like I said, if you can get out and shoot, and repetition is the most important thing to me, is because if you're in the tree and that big buck walks out, it's not even supposed to be a thought in your mind. It's just supposed to be automatic, the way I feel
Right.
about it.
Yeah. You just got to practice and practice. As long as you're practicing correct technique, that's what you want to do. If you don't have good technique, more practice doesn't make you any better. It just ingrains that bad technique or bad form into you. And,
Oh
you
yeah,
just
and I
want to
get
make
it.
sure.
A lot of guys get buck fever. It's a real thing. I mean, I remember being younger and I would get the shakes and stuff like that. Typically, now if I shoot a good one, I shake afterwards. I
Yeah.
don't shake. I don't shake before, unless he sneaks up on me. If he sneaks up on me, I've got to calm down and I've got to wait until I can take a good shot. But that buck fever thing, I mean, a lot of people are different, and I can't fault them for that. So if it happens to be a bad shot and they have buck fever, I mean, I can't get mad at them. That's why we have tracking dogs.
Right. Yeah. There's a few times I'd like to have had a tracking dog with me, and you're tracking and you've gone a couple hundred yards and you're just finding no blood trail anymore, and just gone, and you keep walking and keep going around in circles and going and going and going, and it's like, I must not have, must not have got a good enough shot on it. And you come back next week and it's like, what's that stinking? 30 yards from where you stopped looking is where it died.
I mean,
but you're looking in the dark.
I've made some really good shots before and not found really any kind of blood. I typically don't swap up a whole lot of broadheads. If I find something that's great that I really like, I'm going to use it. But I've shot several. I thought, no good broadheads, that kind of thing. Great shot, double lung or something like that, and you don't get a good blood trail. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's maybe clipping or pushing too hard through the deer that it pushes some of the lung into the hole and clogs it up, or whatever it is. It's just you don't get good blood.
Yeah, and two, I did talk about this on a podcast a little while back. Look, aiming for your exit hole. Where you want that arrow to exit is as important as where you hit it, because if you hit it too low or exit too low, all the internals plug up the hole.
Yep.
And you got to wait to fill up blood that comes out the entrance hole. Or if you have a little bit higher exit hole, not on the bottom, on the side, then it don't take as much to fill it up. And I like the liver lung shot better than trying to shoot him in the heart.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm a pop them lungs kind of guy. If you can't breathe, they can't go far.
Right. Yeah.
Typically, we've got so many guys around here that, it's a business here, tracking dogs. You can make a ton of money during our deer season, even with guns. These days, because a lot of guys, they don't, shot placement is 100% the most important thing, and it doesn't matter what rifle you use. It's all about shot placement. But it's literally a business. You can make thousands of dollars tracking dogs in Georgia.
Yeah, that's good for the guy with the tracking dog, but not good that you need to have tracking dogs. But I can see, with as much force as there is there, that would be a little bit harder to track them.
Yeah.
In a big heavy forest, you don't have the blood trails like you can see, around here, where you have a little bit more leaves and stuff that you can find them on, and don't have the snow that you can follow their footprints and blood in the white snow.
Yeah, that definitely, we don't get
that. I've done that one time. I shot one and the blood trail, there was no footprints except one set running through the snow. And the blood trail is about 2 feet away from the trail that's walking on it. It was just squirting out so much off the side. No footprints by the blood trail. And it didn't go but maybe 20 yards and piled up. But
yeah, that's an easy try. I wish we would get some snow. We don't ever get that stuff.
Yeah, and then I've had some where you're tracking little bitty drops you could just barely see, for 100 yards, and you just a little drop here, maybe a little bit on a leaf, a little bit here, and after you've gone a couple 100 yards, like nowhere blood trail.
I've had several does that I've shot and never found blood. Just you kind of just start walking in the general direction where they ran, and you just find them laying there, no blood at all.
Yeah, I had one I shot December up here, and I shot it, and it wasn't the best shot. It was kind of walking, and I ended up getting a little bit too far back, and so I waited till hunting buddy showed up, and then we started tracking a little bit, and about 30 yards down, he gets up and runs off. So we stop, walk straight out, so we know where to come back the next night. And I didn't really want to do that, but they're talking about 3-4 inches of snow that night. So we come back the next night, him and his son, and the three of us, okay, we're looking for a lump of snow. You're not going to see the deer. You got to find a lump of snow and find it there. And I did find it about another 30 yards. It had laid back down and died. And the legs were froze, but the inside of the chest cavity was still warm. And
Huh.
it snowed and got down to, how cold it got, but it was, below freezing. And, so we cut and pulled it out. But it's one of those, if we'd have kept going, we'd have never found it, because who knows how far to run. That's the thing you got to realize is, when you shoot one, is you can't go chasing it down, because it's going to keep running and running and get up and run some more. And next thing you know, no more deer.
Yeah, they're super tough. I mean, I've put some good shots on some deer, and as far as they've ran, I was shocked. Like the one I shot this year, I mean, it was a great shot, I feel like anyway. It was double lung. I mean, he went almost 200 yards on a double lung shot. I was shocked as far as he could tote that shot.
That's quite a ways.
And I've had them, of course, when you shoot them, like one of the ones I shot last year, I shot it. I felt like it was a great shot, and I ended up. I don't know how I did it, but I ended up shooting him basically in his armpit below his heart, but it cut both the main arteries on both of his legs.
Oh,
And he went to a swamp, but he probably ran about 350 yards. And I thought I'd made a great shot. And so I walked in, I waited. I always sit in the stand about 30 minutes at least before I ever get down and start looking around. And I walked into the woods about, I don't know, I guess about 50 yards, and I heard a deer jump up. I didn't know if it was him or not. I mean, it's pitch black dark. So I went
right.
ahead and I went back to the truck, and I just called my buddy Brandon. He's got a blue tick, and I asked him if he was in the area. He was already pretty close, so he just brought his dog over there, and he literally went straight to it. I mean, the deer was done. It just I didn't know if it was that deer that I jumped up. I just didn't want to take a chance of him, because if you jump them up, they can run another 1,000 yards quick.
Oh yeah.
They can cover ground way faster than we can.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot faster than we can.
And I was hunting in a neighborhood, so I didn't know if he was going to end up in somebody's backyard or.
Yeah, that's not good if they end up in their backyard, and then you got to haul them out, because you don't want to clean them there.
Oh yeah,
That'd be terrible. To all of a sudden in the morning you get up and here's this gut pile in your yard with the
like
coyotes
what's
in
all
there
this?
eating
Like somebody murder somebody back here?
it. Yeah, that would be kind of a challenge in a urban area to, what do you do, once you get it, because you really can't clean it there, because
Yeah,
you don't want to be in a neighborhood, have the gut pile, smelling up the neighborhood. That's not good. I don't want to smell that, and I'm sure that anybody else wouldn't want to. So then you got to haul someplace else to clean it. And
yeah. I've been lucky. I've got a buddy of mine is a processor, and so I'll go to his house. We gut them there and that kind of thing. He's got deer coolers and all that kind of stuff, and that's a pretty big thing down here for us to have. I mean, there's 5 processors in every county. I like to process my own deer, but if I do one of my suburban areas, I typically just take it to his house, and then he'll end up processing for me.
yeah, it's nice thing about doing it yourself is you don't have to worry about when you take it into somebody to process, did you get your meat back? Or
Yeah,
did
that's
they
a
just,
lot of people. There's a lot of places around here you don't know if you're getting yours back, but with him, he weighs it before it's gutted. He writes it all down. He tags it, and then he'll tell you like the percentage that you're going to get back, depending on the shot. Like if you say you gut shot it, of course you're going to lose some meat,
right?
uh, that kind of thing. But he's a super honest guy, so you're going to get your deer. He makes sure that he lets them hang for 10 to 12 days each. So I mean they're good and cured, aged a little bit. And I mean you're going to get your deer back. A lot of these guys you go to, I mean, you have no idea what you're getting.
Yeah, I know. I had a couple of buddies took them into one of the places up here. I'm not even sure if they're still in there anymore, but he took it, and they both took in deer. The one guy's was probably 50 pounds heavier than the other ones. And when they got there, they picked up their meat together, they got the same amount of meat back. And I said, wait a minute, I brought in almost a 200-pound deer. Why am I only getting this back? And where, Jim brought in a 150-pound deer, and he got back as much as I did. So they went back and grabbed some more meat. And then they donate hundreds of pounds of meat every year. It's like, I know you don't have that many people come in and pay for the processing up front and not pick up their deer.
Yeah, I don't know why they do. We've got some pretty big, Pennington Seed Company is right here close to me. Huge company, nationwide. And they've got a big farm, and they'll kill they get 90 tags. And they've got a lot of nuisance tags. So they'll end up shooting a bunch of deer, and they end up donating the meat to a lot of places, but somehow there ends up being leftover meat. I don't really understand how you got the meat coming in, but not all the meat's going out. I really don't understand it.
Yeah. It's because they're just saying, okay, everybody gets back this much, and then what's left is, they just put it on a big cooler, and it's like, okay, this is what you wanted. You wanted hamburger, you wanted this, and you pull it out and throw it in a bag. Who knows? And I've been in somewhere, went in and seen it, and the deer hanging up. Some of the deer have green on them, the meat. Some of the meat's like almost black, because they've been hanging for who knows how long, especially during rifle season, because there's just so many coming in. And it's like,
oh yeah,
I don't want nothing to do with any of that meat, So I always cut mine because I know exactly how it was cared for. I know how it's cut. I know it's my meat. I can clean all the fat off and all the membrane off, and I cut it the way our family uses it. And it's just so much better. You take the ground from those packing places that process them, and when it cooks, a lot of times they'll have a stink to it because they've got fat in them from the deer, because they don't trim it all off. And then when I do it, it don't smell like that because there's no fat in mine. I take all the fat off, and I take a lot of the membrane off because, a long time ago, I didn't have a really good grinder, and all that membrane would gum up in the grinder teeth. So I pull that out. So mine was just pure meat. There was no membrane or nothing on it because it wouldn't go through the grinder. Now I got a little bit bigger grinder, so it'll grind up some of that stuff. But
yeah, typically if I can, I'm going to do all of them myself. But there's usually two or three a year that, like, say I got a track real late, or it's like the buck that I killed. It crossed a big creek. It was a super heavy deer. It took me a while to get him out of the woods. It's 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, I'm just going to take it to my buddies and let him do this one, just because I don't really have anywhere to just go. We're actually building a cooler now, but I don't have anywhere right now that I can actually just hang it for the night, because it was 85, 90 degrees here, so I had to get him somewhere fast.
Right. You can't hang it anywhere at that temperature. It'll be gone by the morning. And and you're taking them to your buddies, so you're going to get your meat back, or how it's cared. So it's the next best step to you doing it yourself.
It's pretty tough here because we're not going to get until freezing temperatures until the season's basically over by the time we get to a temperature that's below freezing.
Yeah, that's probably January, February.
Oh yeah. Sometimes we'll dip in to really low temperatures and you could actually hang one, but most of the time, most years, we're looking at the very end of the season before we can do that.
Yeah, we're probably going to, a couple more weeks, we're going to have cold enough temperature that you could hang it.
I know my buddies in Iowa, their season just started early this week, and they're already in the upper 30s.
Yeah,
I wish.
Yeah, we're getting upper 30s in at night, and up into the 60s, 70s, during the day right now. And it all just depends. And I need a few more few more weeks of nice weather, I'm working on a truck. I've got the whole front end tore apart on it. I'm going to basically have a whole new front end by the time I get done. The brakes, the ball joints, the tie rod ends, the whole mess is going to be all new.
Yeah, you better hurry.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of time to get it back going together. And yeah, it quite a project. It started out being just rotors and pads and calipers for the front, and then drums and shoes for the back on a 98 Dodge Dakota. And then now it turned into tie rod ends, upper and lower ball joint, the sway bar. I need to replace both those pieces on there. Replacing the lower control arm because the ball joints are riveted in, but the upper one, I had to take it off, press out the bushings, and then grind off the bolts or the rivets, pound them out, put the new tie on. Yeah, it's been quite a chore, and then you can't get the parts, and then you get the wrong parts, and then you got to take those back and get other parts. And yeah, we've spent probably 2.5 days driving around just getting parts. No one store has all of them.
Oh yeah, never. It's like I'm waiting on parts for the bumper and stuff for my truck now. I didn't even realize that all the part manufacturers are they're on strike. So I've killed 4 deer this year. I've killed 2 with my bow. I've killed 1 with my new truck, and I've killed 1 with my old truck. And my new truck, I've been waiting, I guess it's been over a month now, and I didn't realize that all the manufacturers are on strike. So I called the insurance people the other day. I'm like, hey, I'm just waiting, trying to figure out when I'm going to get a bumper, that kind of thing. And they're like, we really don't know. I have no idea when my new truck is going to get fixed, just because, I mean, you can't find parts anywhere.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, your old truck, sometimes you just go to a junkyard, get a good bumper, but
the crazy part is
tough.
The crazy part is my old truck, it's like it's a 2006 F-150, my older truck. I've hit 3 deer with that thing and never had a dent. Right on the front, bumper, everything, not a scratch on it. My new truck hit it in the same spot, and the whole thing's just crushed.
Yeah, difference in quality of build and thickness of metals, and a lot of them are using aluminum in some of the upper parts for, they absorb the crashes more, but it destroys the trucks more. And
yep. Yeah, that truck, I mean, it's been through some stuff, and it's just keeps on rolling.
Yeah, sometimes those older ones are better, even though you got to spend, a little bit. We're spending as much for parts as we bought the truck for.
Yeah. I need to do exactly what you're doing now with the front end, ball joints and all that kind of stuff. I just haven't done it.
Yeah, it's no fun when they're riveted in. I was going to do the lower one. Was able to get the lower control arm with the lower ball joint in it for actually less than what we bought the 2 lower ball joints for, and they're riveted in. And because it's on the truck, you can't really press it out. You got to punch it out. So I had to grind off the tops of them, and then got to punch. I'm punching out. I got 1 out of the 4. I got 4 more on the other side, and we've already spent about 4.5 hours just to get 1 out. So we're just going to change the bottom. We couldn't get the upper ones. Ordered in upper ones, and they weren't even the right ones. They was way smaller and not even the right ones. So that one we're going to take that one off. We're going to take that one off, and I will grind the bottom of them off and then press them in our. We got a big 20-ton press, so that's how we had to get the bushings out of it, so we could replace the bushings, and so we'll press them out. They'll come out real easy that way.
Oh yeah.
So,
I don't think I haven't asked you what kind of bow and stuff like that do you shoot?
Shoot a PSE.
Okay.
My hunting bow is a 2001 PSE Carrera, and my other bow is a 2003 PSE Scorpion. And then I did it when I was working at Cabela. We got a lot of, our store got a lot of the returns in because we had bow techs in there that we knew what was doing. And we'd take all the returns, we'd just get pallets of them. And then we'd take, we might have 3 bows, identical bows, and each one had different part bad in it. So we'd make good bows, put them on our used bow rack and sell them. And I got one as a Bear. Forget the model. It was a $900 bow by itself when it was new in a snow camel. I was able to get it for really cheap. I don't remember what I paid for it now, but it needed a stabilizer, or the string dampener was messed up. I had to fix that. New strings on it. I fixed that. That's as far as I've gone with that one. But that's what I have for bows, and then my PSE recurve.
Okay. I didn't know which has just always been a PSE guy, or
yeah, my not my first bow, but I was a PSE dealer in 2001. I became a PSE dealer when I bought the store, and I've been shooting PSE ever since.
Okay. I got a friend of mine that works at the archery shop up here, Mark. He worked for PSE. He probably worked there for about 30 years. He went out, he moved back here. He went to Oregon, went back out there for a while, and now he's back. He's actually shooting for, or doing, he's working for like Arcus just sold. I don't know if you've heard of Arcus.
No, I haven't.
They own Ramcat, Dead Downwind. Who else they own? They own Obsession Bows. There's a few other companies. Tinks. I'm pretty sure you've heard of Tinks before.
Yep.
And all that stuff's right here within 30 minutes of my house. But he's always been a big PSE guy. And I've tried, which one did I have? I think it was an Evo.
Yeah, that was one of the newer ones.
It was like
like
a 2013 or 14 model. I shot it. It was pretty aggressive bow, but I liked it. I don't know why it just didn't really stuck out. Like I said, I shot for Hoyt for a long time, and I always stuck with them until 2016. And then I shot an Elite, and it was pretty much over with at that point.
Yeah, there's, used to be, the PSE and the Bear and the Browning and and then Matthews come along, and then I get Bowtech and then Elite and all these other ones. And, of course, there's Darton back in there in the day. I don't even know if I haven't heard of anybody shooting new Dartons in a long time. I don't know if they're still in business or not, but, their High Country was another one that was out there that was well, I'm going to say it. They were terrible bows.
There was another one. It was a Hoyt knockoff. I think it was called a Reflex.
Oh, yeah.
That was a horrible bow.
And then PSE dove into when they called archery research. They had a different bow line. I don't think it stuck around very long, but there's so many different ones, and pretty much if you buy any of the name brand bows, they're all going to be good quality.
Oh yeah,
they're all going to feel different when you shoot them. So that's why I recommend, it's like, go to the store. If you're right-eye dominant, grab your right-handed bow, put it in your hand. Does it feel good? Okay, that's option one. If it don't feel good, hang it up. Don't look at price. Just if it don't feel good in your hand, put it up.
Yep.
Of course, you want to stay within your budget. What you have for buying them. You don't want to be looking at, your $1,000 plain Bear bows when you're just starting out, because, not meaning Bear brand, but I mean just the bow itself, no accessories, and that's not a bow to start off with. You're spending a lot of money. If you're spending $1,000 for the bow, you're going to be probably another 500 into it by the time you get, because you're not going to get a cheap rest. You're going to get an expensive rest. You're going to get expensive sight. inexpensive release. You're going to go with the high-end arrows. Everything's going to be high-end, so you're pushing a lot. Beginner, I tell them, it's like, get one of the ready-to-shoot packages.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea.
If you know what you're shooting, whether it's a right or left-handed bow, and you know what your draw length is, go to a pawn shop, or get a used one, and start with that. But then go spend the money on a good quality release, like a Scott or a Carter, or something like that, or even a True Ball. They've got some really nice ones as well. So go with a good quality release, because the release, if you're going to use a release, you got to have a good one, because the bad one's just going to give you bad form.
Yep.
Bad habits.
Yeah, that's like a trigger on a gun. I mean, if it's a crappy trigger, it's just, it's not a great gun.
No, and that's what you basically have. And learn how to use a trigger on a release. I tell people, I found out, they're an archer, and so use a wrist sling in it, for your release. And he says, yeah. And it's like, well, pulling the trigger. That's your first lesson. That's free. And I say, what? And then I'll go and explain what's going on, because a lot of people come from firearm, use the tip of your finger to pull the trigger on a release on your bow. That is wrong. It only increases the chances of target panic. Get that back go back 2 knuckles back, go back there, because you don't pull the trigger. You just pull through and it goes off. And first time I learned back tension release, so it told me about it. It's like, well, how do you know what you're shooting? Because you're still thinking you put the pin where you want it and pull the trigger. Oh, then once I learned, it's like, oh, now I understand.
Yes, everybody's punching the trigger, and the target panic, like you were talking about. My nephew had it real bad, which I couldn't understand, because of compound bows. I couldn't understand how you're getting target panic with a compound bow. It's you shoot, you aim, you shoot. It should be pretty easy, but so bad. He struggled with it for months, and I finally got him to use a back tension for a little while. He started getting real good with that, and then I got him to actually put the release. I got him with a wrist strap on a Sigma. We made a makeshift wrist strap for it, and I got him to actually kind of use his pinky to pull the trigger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he was squeezing his pinky to make his thumb go off, if that made sense. The harder he pulled, he was putting pressure on his pinky to make his trigger go off, and it helped him a lot.
Yeah, a little bit. Some will take and they're just rolling their hand back. I pull back, and it's going to naturally roll over, and that's kind of what you're doing, is you're using your pinky to pull back. But the only problem with using the pinky is you have to think about moving your fingers.
Yeah.
When you think about moving your fingers, what did you stop doing? Because you can't aim and move your fingers.
Yep.
So while you're moving your fingers, you have to think about your finger. And what are you not thinking about? Your target. So what are you going to hit? Don't know. Yeah. Yeah. When I teach, I'm always explaining, here's what you need to do. Here's why you need to do it. And then we're going to adjust it to fit you. Because each one's a little bit different. Each person's body's different. So I always have to adjust. And, that's the advantage of getting somebody that's, open to be taught, is they're going to learn quite a bit. And then when you get an instructor that's not fixed, like, do it this way, that's why I said to do it. You don't want an instructor who says, do it this way, I told you so.
Oh yeah.
You have to do it this way. No, you don't have to do it that way. I actually was talking to one guy, and he says, yeah, just as a joke, this guy, he way weird shape and shot, and it's like he started shooting good. So he just shoots in this weird position, and it works for him. Not my recommendation, but it happens. You can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, mine, I've always been kind of, I don't know, it's kind of unorthodox. I've got a high Anchor point. My anchor point's always been kind of high. I don't know why. It's just something I got comfortable with years ago. But I mean, it's always worked for me. And everybody's different, like you're talking about. It's
Right.
don't try to imitate somebody else. Just, I mean, try to get comfortable, go through your motions, and just let it fly.
Yeah, that's as long as you can repeat it every time the same way every time. That's what you need.
Yep.
And it just a little bit easier when you have a coach that's helping you through it, can see where you're making your changes. Because a lot of people, you take a video of yourself and it's hard to critique yourself. Say, okay, I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this wrong. I've created some videos and it's like, why are you doing it that way? That's not what I teach to do. That's not what I normally do. And it's like, okay, I need to fix this.
Yeah, years ago I had a real bad problem with squeezing the actual handle. So a guy, I guess the guy, probably the only guy or lesson I've ever had was one lesson, and he literally taught me how to hold the bow with my left hand. I'm right-handed. Just put it on the bow the correct way. And after that, I was pretty good to go at that point.
Yeah, it's
I
amazing
never
what one
struggled.
quick lesson will do.
Yeah, I never really struggled with the pulling the bow, not punching the trigger, anything. I was squeezing, so I was throwing it off left, right, up, down, whatever. I just couldn't get consistent until I learned actually how to hold the bow.
Yeah, that proper hand grip is definitely the key, is getting that hand on there. Being in martial arts, we know, about locking joints up. What I took, we locking joints up and pressure points and stuff like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
on your hand, you've got a lot of different places that you can push and twist that hand. And in martial arts, we use that to lock the wrist up to throw you. Well, the one place that we don't is right where your little finger and your thumb meet, right at the wrist. So you take your wrist bone going straight through as your hands pointing up. That point right there, you push on it. You have the most strength, the most power. And that's, as you push on it, you relax your hand. Now, go ahead, for those listening or watching, if you're not driving, of course, take your finger and push real hard in between that meaty part, and you're going to feel it's there. Let your hand relax. Now, open your hand up and feel it change. It changes the pressure point. Now, start making a fist. It all changes. So your hand completely relaxed is going to be consistent. As soon as you take and now move over to the side on your little thumb, on your little finger, now it turns your hand. Now the pressure is in your wrist instead of through the joints. So that's one thing that I always teach is, here's where you want to push from. Now, those have had martial arts experience. If you've had any of that, think of a heel palm strike. That's the part that we strike with our hand with the heel palm. Those are real good, like for noses and stuff like that, but that's a different subject. Yep. But, you take, that is where the pressure comes in. And now, if you take and push on that part of your hand, you can tell that it goes clear up through your joints, all the way through your shoulder. Now, if you're pushing off the side, you only feel it in the wrist. You don't really feel it maybe up to the elbow. So that's kind of a point that, that you discovered there. Maybe not explained the way I explain it, but, if you're pushing with that part of your hand completely relaxed, that is going to be the most consistent way to not grip the bow, because you don't actually grip the bow. I've actually seen people derail their string by having such a tight grip on it. They actually torque the bow, and as they let down, the string is at an angle to the cam, and it pops right off because they had a death grip on the bow.
Yep, I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, they start letting down, and all of a sudden it derails. It's like,
and of course they blame it on the bow.
No, 100% your grip. you gripped it, you told it to do it, and you twist it, and then you just think, okay, just hold it lightly, now grip it, and all of a sudden that bow just twists to the side, and it's like, that's why it derailed.
I've tested it. I mean, I've sat there in the backyard and just shot. I've got 7 or 8 3D targets in the backyard that I'll just sit there and test, like just squeezing a little bit off. I was a martial arts guy. I was a kickboxer, but a little bit different as far as punching and kicking, that kind of thing. But I'll just test, like just throwing it a little bit off, pushing up, pushing down, just to see how far off the target is.
Well,
Because you never know. I mean, when you're in a tree, I mean, you're going to have, you're going to have to lean back sometimes. You're going to have to lean forward. You might have to squat, stand up, sit down while you're shooting. So I was trying to cover all different kinds of, see how bad it was, like turkey hunting with a bow. I mean, you're never going to be in the perfect form to be able to
no.
shoot a turkey. So you got to practice all of them.
Well, and your perfect form should always be there from the waist up. Nothing should change. Now, you might have to twist back, twist forward, twist down, twist up, but that form right there, between the relationship between your hand and the bow and your elbows, should never change, because it's once you change it, now you're changing everything on the bow. And that's where, like you're practicing, try shooting from your knees, try shooting sitting down, try shooting, with, put a stool there or a block there or something, and try standing on that. So now as you're at an angle, try all those different ones, because you never know what you're going to have, but that is your form. And whenever I draw, even if I got to shoot down, I draw back at that form, and now I'm going to start bending down to my target or bending up to my target. That is my form. I come to that, get to that, because that's consistent. Now then I have to move as a whole unit, basically from the waist up. That never changes. That alignment never changes, because if it does, now if you drop your arm, now the peep is moving, your draw length changes, and everything changes, because now when you're releasing, you're at a different angle. So that's one of the things that is hard to get by, get across to some people when they, bending down. And I've done that once. Before I really knew what was going on, it was down. I just dropped my arm down. It's like, I can't see through my peep. Why can't I see through my peep? I'm like, well, it's because I just moved at a different angle. So now I can't see it because I'm not there. I just dropped my arm and,
Yeah, one of the toughest shots is probably sitting in a turkey chair. I don't know if you ever done that. Like it's kind of like a beach chair, I guess.
Yeah.
You're sitting really close. I mean, your butt's pretty much on the ground.
Yeah.
Trying to shoot. I mean, it's more for shotgun hunters, of course.
Right.
But, I mean, shooting a bow from a turkey chair is probably one of the toughest shots I think I've ever had to take.
Yeah, I don't like getting that far on the ground because it's too hard to get up. It's like getting up off the ground is not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah, it's getting tough now. I'm 41 now, so it's getting tough.
You got a little ways to go.
If it's tough now, I don't want to know what it's like later.
Yeah, it gets tougher, but hey, we got to do what we got to do, right?
Oh yeah. And I'm kind of a bigger guy, so it's I mean, my bones are starting to get a little sore.
Just wait another 20 years or more. I think they're sore now. Wait till later.
I'm gonna keep going as long as I can.
No reason to stop. You might have to change weight of your bow, but other than that, or go to a crossbow. There's no reason to stop as long as you can still get in the field.
I don't know if I could do a crossbow. I'm not an anti-crossbow guy, but I think there's special situations for crossbows and stuff like that. I guess I bought a crossbow for my son. He's 6. I like shooting. I mean, it's fun to shoot, but I'm more, I guess, not really against it, but on the side of when it's archery season here in Georgia. I mean, it could be anywhere, I guess, but I think compound, traditional, which they're going to think something different, of course, than what I think, that there should be maybe like a crossbow season. Maybe you get a couple of weeks of archery and then throw in crossbows, or I mean, I really don't know. It's just I feel like it's kind of like a gun in a sense. and it should be maybe for older guys or handicapped people, that kind of thing. It's a tough situation. I'm not against it at all. I don't want people to like drag me in the dirt for thinking that a crossbow is, but I just think I don't know, it's whatever's legal for you to hunt with. I'm 100% for. I just think that it's like an able guy like me. I don't think I shouldn't be using a crossbow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's you. Now in Nebraska, it used to be crossbow was valid for firearm season, and in order to use it during the archer season, you had to be a doctor's note saying that you can't hold a traditional type bow. And then they found out that you really don't have that much advantage by using a crossbow over a compound bow. So now it's legal during archery season. The one advantage you have is it's already cocked. You just have to point it. You don't have to draw back. That's the biggest advantage. The biggest disadvantage is you get one shot. You're not reloading a crossbow for a second shot. You're just not going to happen because you got too much movement to reload it, or if you got a crank on it because you can't do it. And then when you're loading it, you're not going to have it cocked when you're going up in the tree. So you got to cock it once you get up in your tree, because if for some reason you would catch that string on something and it would cut or something, you've just destroyed your crossbow.
Oh yeah.
I don't know of any crossbow that will take a dry fire.
I don't think there is one.
No, they won't take a dry. You've just destroyed it. So you can't cock it. Now, if the string gets cut while it's uncocked, that's not going to really hurt it because there's really not much pressure on it. But once you cock that and you start carrying it up into your tree stand, and all of a sudden you grab it and that goes off, and your hand happens to be over that rail, it's going to take off your fingers.
Oh yeah.
Whatever's above that rail is getting removed.
Like me and my son get out here and shoot, and I mean, I'm worried about that every time. It's just going to come unglued or something's going to happen to it because there's so much pressure on them.
Right.
But yeah, I'm on the fence about it. I'm still like the able body thing. Because I think there is a little bit of advantage as far as like longer shots. A lot of guys like the tracking thing around here. You get a lot of guys that they wouldn't take that shot with a compound, but a 70-yard shot, they're gonna risk it with a crossbow. So there's a little bit of a gap right there as far as compounds versus crossbows. Those guys are a little more confident with taking something that they shouldn't take, regardless of the shot.
Yeah. That's the problem with the crossbow is people think that you have all this extra length distance, but your crossbow pins are set up at 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 and 60, which is what you set up your compound bow for. It's just a little bit flatter. You don't have as much gap between them, but you have such a short bolt. That's why you got to have all that extra weight, because it's so short. There's no length to develop the speed out of it and power out of it.
And I've talked to a lot of the tracking guys, and most of them, I would say 75%, they track more deer for crossbow guys than they do for compound guys.
Right, because they're taking them longer shots, thinking, this is like I'm shooting a rifle, and
yep.
And next thing you know, they take this long shot and they miss because they don't really have the experience shooting them, because they don't take as much practice to get good at it, because it's like shooting a rifle.
Oh yeah.
But
that's where I guess it kind of gets me as far as the crossbow versus compound. But of course, then you get the traditional guy versus the compound, and there's that argument. And I mean, it's never ending. So I kind of stay out of it. I just wanted to talk about it just for a second.
And I have all three disciplines on the podcast as guests. So, I have crossbows, I have compounds, I have, traditional archers, and I have Olympic archers, and at every different area in there, and they each all have the reasons why they would shoot what they're shooting, and you know what, it's all good. Just whatever you want to shoot is really good, and each one has their own little thing. And I know people that have I've talked to people that work compound for a long time, and picked up the recurve and or the traditional bow, and like never looked back. Like just so much more, enjoyed it so much more. And then then there's others that's like, I have a recurve, I don't shoot it a lot because I don't have the time to, or want to spend the time to get good enough to hunt with it. I do take it out bow fishing, when I do go bow fishing, because if I miss, no big deal. I just missed the fish.
Yeah, I'm good with, like I said, whatever's legal, if it's legal in your area, use it. Like, we get a lot of guys in this area because, of course, we sell, a lot of guys we call it deer attractants, but it's a deer bait. So we get a lot of guys around here that they don't typically care for it. But if it's legal in your area and you want to take advantage of it, I don't see any problem with it whatsoever.
No, if it's legal, go for it. If it's legal and you feel like you want to do it, go right ahead.
Because we get a lot of the argument around here is, that baiting is taking away people's ability to hunt. They don't hunt anymore. They sit and wait. But if it's a good deer, a good buck, depending on, it doesn't really matter. If you can put the best food in the world out there, and if it's a good deer, you still got to hunt him. You got to,
right.
Like most, my stands are going to be, kind of like out in the West, North, Illinois, all that kind of thing. You're going into the crop field, which is bait. I'm going to set up my stand 60, 80 yards away from the feeder or the pile of feed, whatever. I'm hunting trails. There's no difference. Theirs just happens to grow out of the ground. Mine grows out of the ground. It just comes in a bag. It's still from the ground. It just it's just been processed a little.
Yeah. It's just been modified and thrown out.
Yeah. There's so many arguments these days that I see on like archery talk and different things like that. I just keep my 2 cents out of it pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I kind of keep the Archery Talk 101 group is more, more content. It's like, we're helping other archers out, and there's not a lot of conversations about, what's better, that we just don't have that kind of conversations in here, because it's all about, teaching and helping archers out. And, that's kind of what I wanted for the group, so that we can help each other. That's why I named it Archery Talk 101, because it's, beginners, helping beginners out. And, of course, we talk to experienced people, because that also helps beginners out. And, so I'll get somebody that's brand new. And, I had people come and say, well, what, maybe somebody more qualified you should talk to. Is like, no, you're the perfect one. Someone just starting out. Hey, let's hear your story. And everybody has a unique story. And that's so fun about this is, everybody's story is a little different. And, I learn something every time I do one of these. And hopefully, my guest and people listening get something out of it. And that's just what we do.
Yeah, I love the new guy. I love the guy that wants to get into it, because they're willing to learn way more than anybody else that's been doing it. Even 2 or 3 years. The guy that's just starting out, they have so many questions, and you end up learning something from them just because they're asking the right questions.
Right. Same thing when in teaching martial arts, you get a new person in, and as I'm teaching them the techniques, I'm getting better, because I have to teach them. And when they're having difficulties, I got to figure out why they're having problems and how to fix their problem, which makes me better. And the same thing in archery, as I help more archers out, I learn stuff, it's like run into problems, and it's like, okay, this is what solved it. Then I remember next time, let's try this. And it's like, then you sound like a genius because you went through the time it takes to figure it out. One person, next one had the same problem.
Yeah, I don't really help teach a lot of people. I mean, I help my nephew and I'll help my kids and I'll give pointers here and there and that kind of thing. But I don't feel like, I mean, I'm not qualified. I've been doing it a long time, but I'm still learning myself. I'll never quit learning. If I quit learning, then I'm just going to hang it up.
Yeah. There's always something to learn.
Oh yeah, that's why I love it. I mean, archery it's difficult. There's, I mean, so many facets to it. There's, and especially when you actually get like shooting paper. I'm not a huge fan of indoor tournaments. I love 3D, but indoor, I mean, you're staying in the same spot. Of course, you're going to mess up. It's consistency, but 3D or actually hunting situations, it changes every time. Nothing's ever the same.
Right. Well, the wind is because you're outdoors. If you're outdoors, the wind's going to be different every shot.
Oh yeah, and you get some glare or anything. I mean, just I had a guy that I was talking to. He went elk hunting, and he was crawling, trying to get closer to this elk, and he stood up, had a perfect shot. He said like maybe 15 yards. He went to draw his bow back, and there was a stick stuck in his cam. So he ended up pulling his string off the bow. They went back to camp. Somehow, he said they figured out how to get the string back on the bow. They went back, found the same elk, and he ended up shooting that elk. But it's just a different situation where, I mean, you like the new Matthews, it comes with a rope and stuff like that where you can, fix your cams, put your strings back on, take them off, whatever. And the technology versus hunting situations is, I mean, it's cool to me. I like reading that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've got a little portable bow press that I can, carry along with me,
I
but it
have one of
doesn't work.
those.
It doesn't work with some of the new bows, the parallel limb bows and beyond parallel limb bows. You can't use it on them. It won't work. And fortunately, all my bows are old enough that I can use it on them.
Yeah, who makes it? I forgot. I've got one. I couldn't tell how long it's been since I used it, but
um,
it was like easy something or
yeah, I actually have a video I created in the group on using a portable bow press, and I'm drawing a blank what mine's called.
but
I
I
haven't
don't know if
seen
you've
it
seen
in
the
months.
have you seen the new Matthews bow that comes with the string
Uh-uh.
where you can let tension off of the limbs by putting the string on so that you can adjust your shims or whatever. You can do whatever in the field.
Huh.
It's pretty cool, but I don't I mean I don't know when I would ever use it, but hopefully I would never have that situation. But
Kind of like the old bows that had the cables on it. They had a double-sided place where you put your string on. So the idea was you get your new string, you draw it partially back, put your new string on, let it down, grab your old one, and then or your new one, pull it back and take the old one off. You can change strings because it's kind of like a two prongs on the end of the cable.
yeah,
That's so you didn't need a bow press because you just stick one on and go.
like now with the one that I'm shooting now, the Elite, you can pretty much adjust everything with. You don't have to have a bow press at all.
Yeah, it not like the old ones where you had to change the modules out. Now you just rotate modules and stops and stuff. And I don't know if Matthew still does it, but I know some of the first ones, you if you had 29-inch draw length, you ordered 29-inch cams. If you needed a
Yeah.
29 and a half, you ordered a 29 and a half. So you
Yep.
couldn't just change. You had to buy a whole new cam.
Yeah. Matthews is. I think they're kind of still a little bit behind the curve as far as I don't know why, but they're not doing. They still have the yoke system. Not a lot of companies use the yoke system anymore. You still have to have shims. Everybody else is pretty much Bowtech, Elite, PSE, everything. They've all got their way to adjust cam lean and stuff like that. Now Matthews just I don't know why they haven't done it. I don't know if it's just they're just stubborn or what's going on. I liked Matthews bows though; they shoot great.
Yeah, I had one before I had my store, and I finally saved up and got one, and I was shooting it, and I got it all set up, took it down to the range, first shot, perfect hole. I was like, well, this is cool. And then I bought store and become a PSE dealer. So now I got this Matthews Q2, and I go down, part of the dealer school, you got to pick a bow. And I go down there and says, okay, right now I'm shooting Matthews Q2. Which one of these bows should I be shooting that's going to be just good, if not better? And that was the Carrera. And I got the Carrera. And it was actually a faster bow. I think the Q2 was like just barely over 300 feet per second. The Carrera is rated at 320. And so I started shooting that. And it's like, I had no problem selling the Matthews after that, because that was a much better bow. And, I ended up selling it, and I had the store. I just stuck it up for sale, and I still got that bow, still shooting. It's my hunting bow.
Yeah, PSE's always been one of the faster brands for sure.
Now I don't get anywhere near 300 feet per second out of it because, well, I was shooting 70 pounds. I'm not sure now what I'm going to be shooting, but 70 pounds. I'm not shooting a 30-inch draw length, and I don't have just a knock point, because they're rated at 30-inch draw length, 70 pounds, one knock point, and a 350 grain arrow. That's how they're rated. Well,
oh yeah,
I'm not shooting a 350 grain arrow. I have a loop on it. I have a kisser button. I have a peep on it, and I have string, the Sims string leeches on the strings and cables. And I'm shooting 29-inch draw length. So I'm not going to get to 320 feet per second. I think it was like 280 or something like that. I haven't put the chrono on it recently, but I was right about 280 feet per second. But that was with, like a 400 grain arrow.
yeah. The arrows now. I mean, I'm way above that. I'm probably around, I guess, maybe 500 or so, 490 as far as arrow weight.
Oh yeah. When I went to replace them, I'd get Pissy had there for a while what they called the hunter shaft, which is a 7,000 straightness. So I ordered some in just to see what they were like, because I shoot 1,000s is what I normally shoot. And, as opposed to keep them in the X ring, I can keep them in the white. And that's the best, you can really group with them beginning 7,000s. And I ordered in, PSE spining went 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 being the heaviest spine. Everybody else goes the other direction. So I ordered in 300s, and they actually were mismarked. They're actually 400, so they were heavier. So I went to replace them with my other arrows. They're way lighter. So I had to put weight tubes in it to bring the weight up to match those other arrows. So now my hunting arrows have weight tubes in them to bring them up to that 400. Because I think there's like 370 is what my arrows weighed in at. So they were just barely above what you needed to be, above the minimum. And, that's what I shoot out of my other PSE, my Scorpion is the lighter arrows.
Are you still shooting aluminum arrows?
No, I did switch to carbon. Now, a lot of the younger guys probably don't realize this, but the first carbons, I would not shoot at all. The carbon fibers went from the knock to the tip. They're laid in that direction. And when they broke, they splintered. So if you broke one of them, you had carbon fibers all over, if they shot a deer with it and they broke, you had carbon fibers in the meat. It wasn't until they come out with the cross weave carbons that they would break cleanly. And at that point, then I started shooting carbons. Especially after I got my store is when the good carbons started coming out. Because PSE, they had to go to a special manufacturer to get them to meet their standards. It's like your headphones are dying.
Yeah, one of them died.
So yeah, that's when I closed my store, I kept all my arrows that I'd be shooting. So I got plenty of arrows. I got enough arrows to last my lifetime. And I still shoot feathers, so I kept all my feathers. So I have enough to fletch my arrows for the rest of my life. And the jigs and well, what would you say to our audience in closing here? Because you're probably going to lose your other um, earpiece here in a second.
Yeah. What would I say? I mean, just get out there, do your thing, try it, take advice. Advice would be super huge. If you have somebody in your area that can really help you, take a chance, listen. Don't think you know everything. There's a lot of guys these days that start out and they think they know everything right off the bat. Just, I mean, go out there, shoot with a bunch of guys, take some advice, pay attention. Love archery. I mean, and take ethical shots. That's one of my biggest things is make sure you take ethical shots. Just don't get out, don't shoot something, don't take a bad shot. You're going to regret it. You'll learn from it, but I mean, just get out there and have fun. And if you're down here in the South, I mean, if you get a chance and you live near me or anything like that, come by, see us. We're out all the time. Check out Rapid Raxx, of course, and just have a good time with it. Just teach your kids if you have kids. Take somebody young hunting. That's take a youth. Take everybody needs to go at least experience it. I mean, if they've never been hunting in their whole life, just take a youth for sure. Just take a kid, take multiple kids, go get, in a group with some kids, just because if you don't have the kids, then we're not going to have a future in hunting.
Right. Good point. Yeah, just get out there and there's nothing better than watching a kid that's just picked up the bow and all of a sudden it just clicks and they start enjoying it and having a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, like I went and met with a guy yesterday. His son is Peyton Mims. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. Super great little. He's 12 years old. He's been shooting ASA. He's getting really good. He's shooting for Hoyt this year. He'll do all the ASA events. I mean, this kid's lights out. And they tried every sport. They tried different things and just archery clicked. So like a parent, if your kid's if they're not enjoying softball, they're not, baseball, whatever, take them and, I mean, get a bow, go to the bow shop, let them shoot some bows. You don't have to buy one. I mean, just see if that's their thing. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, that's just get them out. That's all you got to do.
Yep. Take a kid hunting. That's what we say all the time. Just take somebody to the outdoors, let them experience it.
Well, it's been real great talking with you. I know we've been
You too.
on your phone for a while and batteries don't last forever. So we want to
Yeah.
make sure we get out of here before your batteries all die. I'm on a laptop, so it never dies. So yeah, it's been real great talking to you, and I'm sure we'll see you later. And my name is Roy Canterbury. I've been your host today on Arch Talk 101, and we'll see you on the next one.